Hey everybody, hey, welcome back to the 53206 cast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meg.
And this is a podcast. Meg.
Yeah.
It's getting cold out.
It is getting cold outside.
I've got a big list of stuff I'm trying to get done at the White House on the corner, and I'm looking at the weather, and it's gonna get chilly.
But it is looking really nice. You've been working really hard, and me and a few of the neighbors, we all want to live in that house because it looks so nice.
It's turning out nice, yeah.
Yeah, you've been doing a really good job.
Yeah, but winter is coming. I feel it.
Winter is coming. In fact, winter is coming. It snowed this week. The other day, I think it was Wednesday, it was snowing, and Dex came downstairs in shorts.
Yeah.
And we were like, hey, Dex, look out the window. And he was just like, no, but, he just really wanted to wear shorts that day. And he said, shorts are my legacy.
Yeah, he's been hard on the shorts, which, I'm all for. Wear shorts as long as you want. You're the only one that's going to pay the price for it.
Yeah. But I thought it was just so funny for an 11-year-old to want their legacy to be shorts. I thought, what a funny thing. And to be honest, it kind of made me think of Legacies. And I was able to attend a gala for Beckham Stapleton Little League on Friday. And it was incredible. There was in the room, there were so many people who had built like this legacy of providing baseball for kids in Milwaukee. There was the celebration. It's a celebration of Beckham Stapleton being 60 years old. So for 60 years, they've been providing baseball in the inner city of Milwaukee, and I think I was just in awe of so many. There was a dozen people who had served for 40 years. Yeah, for 40 years, a dozen of them, and they just kept saying Mr. Beckham had this vision, and his vision became my vision. And it was just so beautiful. And I think he had such a clear vision for his life. Even there was one of the members of it was another member. So Mr. Beckham was a member of the Negro League and baseball. And there was another member, and that member was like, oh, Mr. Beckham, you should do more in that. And he was like, no, I shouldn't. I need to run the Little League. And it was just so inspiring that Mr. Beckham, he not only carried out a vision for 60 years, but he also inspired a dozen other people or more to join them. And it was just it really made me think of okay, what do I want my legacy to be? Sure. And it made me think that there are so many needs in Milwaukee. There are so many needs in the inner city that, if you're really into baseball, that can be your legacy. And it was eye-opening and just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to think that you could start something, in your 20s or 30s, or you don't have to do that in order to have a legacy. Yeah. A legacy can be, you've done something for 5 years or 3 years or
once.
Or once, once. And I think that because you kind of told me, and I know a decent amount of people that are part of that group of people that have served for over 40 years, and sometimes you just need to find something that you care about, and I think that's kind of a natural, normal human thing that we want to do something for the world beyond just ourselves, And it can be hard or tricky sometimes because you might get in this trap of thinking that you have to start something, or if only I had this opportunity sitting in front of me, then I could create some kind of the legacy that I think that I want to, or that I aspire to create. But I don't think it's that complicated. I think that if you know that you're the type of person that likes to serve others, or if you're the type of person that likes to coach young people, there's many different ways that the spirit behind that can be carried out into different forms, throughout the city or whatever community that you're a part of. So I think that's really something special that if you can if you can find something that you like to be a part of and that is moving the world towards the way that you want it to be, then that's awesome if you can be a part of that for, a long time.
Yeah. And I thought that you could really talk about, like, I love this idea of, like, somebody has, like, done something for 40 years, but, like, how does that get done? It gets done just through, like, slow and steady,
sure,
movements. Like, it's not anything, I'm sure these people, they didn't go out thinking, I'm going to volunteer for 40 years. They just knew this is what I should be doing right now. And so I'm going to keep doing it. Yeah. And I think, like, that's a very easy, it's very tangible. It's very easy to be able to be part of something that you're interested in, you find value in. I mean, over and over, all the people who talked were saying, like, how they got more out of it. And, like, about how wonderful it was for them to know, especially to know Mr. Beckham, because he was such a wonderful man, and to serve alongside of him, and just to be a part of all these kids who are thriving in the world today, and they're really changing the outcomes of those kids, especially in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, it seems like, if I'm going to go be a part of something, that there shouldn't be any problems or any issues that come up, like during that time. But I would assume that the 12 or so different people that had served for 40 years, I'm sure they could think of a whole bunch of different times where maybe they didn't like the way something was going, or that they would have preferred that it was done differently. But there's never a perfect scenario or situation to carry out the thing that you feel inside of you, like that, to be a servant or something like that, or to be a coach. There's never a perfect way of going about doing that. Yeah. And you can get to a point where maybe you decide, okay, well, this isn't the organization I want to be a part of. But I think that is totally different than the call to be a servant, or the call to be a coach, or whatever it is that you feel, inside of you. And so, if you are sitting there and you're listening and you think, yeah, I want to make the world in this particular way. I think the number one way that you do that is you just identify a need that you feel like that you can meet. Yeah. And a lot of times, an organization is a way that you can kind of systematically go through and meet those needs and use your talents and abilities or access or whatever you have to meet those needs. And that you shouldn't expect it to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, but you should, at the end of it, expect it to be fulfilling because you were able to carry out the thing that was intrinsically put inside of you that you want to enact. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought just another really neat thing about this gala was that I think when we're talking about, like, reframing inner city spaces, this kind of story doesn't come up much. That there are 12 people, at least 12 people who have served for more than 40 years. And I think, like, that was almost like a bigger takeaway, that, like, there's so many incredible organizations throughout the world that are doing these incredible things that we don't often hear about. These types of things. And so I think when we're thinking about, like, reframing inner city spaces, there's so much good going on. And so I think that's just, like, I just feel like that has to be part of the conversation, that there are so many people doing good work. I always think of, we were, after the election, I was a little bit down, and I was listening to the podcast Finding Fred. And it's all about Mr. Rogers, and it's a beautiful podcast just about really what a badass Mr. Rogers is. But he would always say, look for the helpers. And I think that's such a powerful, it's powerful because who's already doing something, in the lane that you want to be in. There's already somebody helping in that space. So, like, how do you just join in on what they're doing? And I just think that's a beautiful, it's just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, the easiest way to do that is to, when you engage with the person that's already active and involved, to, kind of lay out the things that you're able to do, and then try to figure out from that person, or just from your observations, what would be some of those things that you can do that would actually be beneficial, to that group or that organization. And I'm probably thinking about that because I've been editing the book chapter about really it's
we were talking about that last night, and I was like, am I actually helping?
Well, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to design a new product,
Mm-hmm.
you would first come up with an idea, and then you would come up with a prototype, and you would test it out,
Mm-hmm.
and you would see if that product actually met the needs of
Mm-hmm.
whatever group of people you were trying to make this product for. And you probably would ask them, or you would be aware of times where it met the need, and then you would
Mm-hmm.
think about improvements maybe that you could make.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't stop you from making
Mm-hmm.
the thing, right? Because you had this idea inside of your head that you wanted to create whatever it is, and that's not all that dissimilar from serving, or you can think of it as maybe being an activist, or however you want to think about that, and however you want to describe it. But it's not that different, and there's always going to be that little bit of doubt in the back of your head that is this actually doing the thing that I'm trying to accomplish. But that doesn't mean that you would want to scrap everything that you're doing.
Throw out the bathwater with the baby.
Right. That's not a reason to do that. That's more just a reason to make sure. First, that's a sign that you're approaching your work with humility.
Yeah.
Is that if you
agreed.
have at least some second guess,
Mm-hmm.
and then it also then helps motivate you to be better.
Yeah.
To always be improving, always not necessarily adding more of your time or energy, but becoming more efficient
and refining your processes so that you're doing things the right way. Like I feel like even like at the garden, like there's a lot of things that we don't totally do right gardening wise.
Sure.
First of all, but even like just I feel like every year every summer we're a part of it. Like, okay, we just met, the board just met and included a lot of really great people in just some throwing out some ideas, and a lot of people had and it was just like refining, like fine tuning, and just okay, how do we make kids learn how to garden better? How do we make just this a richer experience for the kids? It was so I think any good process has that, just refining and making sure that you're doing things right.
And I don't think that serving or creating a product are all that different.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't just wake up and assume that you are going to be able to go and meet the need of someone. You have to actually figure out what that need is. And there's lots of organizations, like let's say that you at least have an understanding that Thanksgiving's coming up, and not everybody has enough excess in their budget to buy Thanksgiving dinner. So you donate food to Hunger Task Force or whatever. And you trust that organization is going to then take the food and give it out to somebody who could use it, right? Those organizations already exist and already have sort of a funnel from people to other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And but there are a whole bunch of other organizations that exist that the funnel isn't as clear and as obvious as that. So again, like let's say that you were like, okay, well, I really want to build up young people in the city, whatever city you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if you were going to approach that, and I think that's kind of always, when you think about legacy, I don't think that somebody that was involved in Beckham for 40 years, like all of a sudden one day and said, I want to be involved in Little League baseball for 40 years. Mm-hmm. I think they probably liked baseball.
Yeah.
I think they probably had kids in the league or something like that. But I think what they were actually saying is, for as long as I am capable and as long as I am able, I want to set aside time in my day or my week to help raise up young kids or help make young kids more confident.
Yeah.
And if you are, thinking, okay, well, I want to be an advocate or an activist, or I want to be able to add that into what I'm already doing in my life, I want to expand on that. Trying to refine a little bit of like, well, what are you actually trying to do?
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot with We Got This. Well, what are we actually trying to do? Well, we're trying to give kids a work opportunity, because work opportunities don't really exist in the inner city. We're trying to help kids make the connection between work and pride, because if you don't have the opportunity to go work, you would never learn that skill, or you would never have that experience to go out and make something or build something and be able to look at it and feel good about yourself, right? We want to make the community nicer. You know, we want the community to be, we want it to look physically better.
Raise the bar.
Right? So, you know, if you are a person that has like that kind of feeling like, yeah, I do want to have an impact in the world, you know, trying to refine what it is that you, not so much like, and we talk about like niching down a lot, like in podcasts or in like writing this book. And that is good in some instances, but I would almost say do the opposite with kind of your, that's going to sound super lame when I say this, your activism journey. But like if you're just able to have a 1,000-foot view of like, well, what is it that I'm trying to bring out into the world?
Yeah.
You're going to find that there are 1,000 different ways that you can do that. There's 1,000 different ways that you can give a kid a better childhood experience. Part of that would be through Beckham. And I would guarantee one of those 12 people, that's the reason why they did that. And then they found the format or the thing that they went and did to be whatever they were doing with the baseball organization. Yeah. And, you know, it's kind of like I've never asked the lunch ladies that we got this question, but, you know, I would assume that they want some version of the outcomes they see through We Got This, and they see their participation in the lunch program as their way to fulfill that. You know, I don't think that they wake up on a Saturday and think I want these 112 kids to have a good lunch. Maybe they do. And
to be honest, like I feel like they want to raise the bar with, you know, how the kids, like the foods that the kids have access to.
Right. And so like
that's great.
You know, if you kind of think about it as like their why to doing it, it's always much broader than the actual activity that they're doing. Yeah. You know, it's more comprehensive than that. They want to give kids an opportunity to experience a bunch of different varieties of food, probably particularly healthy food. And so they incorporate that into what they're doing, right? And so you can find these avenues to do these things actually fairly easily. Yeah. It seems, you know, I think there was a time probably when I was in my early 20s where, you know, I knew in my head, okay, we would always say, well, we just want the neighborhood to be better. Well, okay, well, you know, that's the broad 1,000-foot view.
It's a big goal.
Yeah, right. It's a big goal, but eventually within that broader goal, you're going to find the 4 or 5 things that you're probably going to stick with. Yeah. And, you know, then you'll kind of be in those lanes for a long time. Like at some point in my life, I'll have been renovating houses in the inner city for 20, 30, 40, maybe 50, you know, depends on how long I can swing a hammer or climb a ladder for. But, you know, you get into the habit of doing these activities, which have this larger, more broader effect on the world. And that's how you can look back way down the road and be like, well, yeah, I had a legacy of doing these things. And then you'll find one day that somebody will, you know, that you knew 10 years ago will tell you, oh, I remember when you were my baseball coach. You know, I remember when I saw you doing the siding on this house 10 years ago. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, yeah, but, you know, I think that there's probably nothing, you know, if you do have that call inside of you to have an impact in the world, you know, thinking about your legacy is something that's pretty important. Yeah. You know, and having that 1,000-foot view and then being able to refine it a little bit to jump on some activities that you think would do that, I think that's a fantastic thing because, you know, I know it's cool to celebrate you know, people at a gala and there's lots of people that have been involved in things for years and years and years and will never be celebrated at a gala. But you know, I would probably say that while those 12 people really appreciated that experience, I would say that, you know, there's times throughout the week or throughout the months in the year where they look back at all of that experience and they just think about how cool, you know, how cool it was that they were able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just a neat opportunity that we all have the opportunity to make big and small differences. And I think I think the biggest thing I've gotten out of like serving places, you know, specifically We Got This, is like to be able to learn and grow myself. You know, I think that's it's just a wonderful opportunity to be able to grow and learn, meet people that you wouldn't usually meet, and just be able to be a better person.
Yeah, because I think that there's like concentric circles with your legacy. Like, well, obviously, you know, if you've got a close-knit family, like you're going to be something to that group of people 30 years down the road. You know, and then outside of that, you've got like whoever it is that you interact with on a pretty regular basis, you know. And then, you know, kind of beyond that is, well, how has your life impacted the world? And, you know, based on, you know, how you grew up and where you're from and a whole bunch of other things, you know, what is it that you've decided that you want to see more of in the world around you? And then how have you done that? You know, how have you, and no one's going to sit you down and ever ask you that. Those are the types of things that you sit down and you ask yourself late at night or early in the morning.
You know, maybe as you're reflecting on the year coming to a close and doing
sure,
some
getting
goals
ready
for,
for your
year.
2025 goals.
Yeah.
I think I started at 2025 goals back in like June. So.
Oh my gosh, I was very boycotting the 2025 goals, and then your sister was like, you should learn how to make sourdough bread, and I was like, that would be a great goal for 2025. So I'm like, okay, starting off small.
So. Yeah, but that was cool. I'm glad you went to that event.
Yeah, it was really neat, and I think it just reminds me that, you know, the giving season is coming up, and
it is.
There are a lot of wonderful places to give, and just I feel like I wanted to plug that you know, keep in mind as we are all spending stuff on, you know, ourselves, not really ourselves, but like your family, all, you know, you're buying lots of stuff.
You're buying
like,
lots of stuff, yeah.
Get you know, give some too.
Sure. That's always a good thing. So you got anything you want to plug before we go?
That was my plug.
Oh, that was. All right. Wow. Okay. Well, very efficient today.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.